Michael Saylor. This guy. He loves one thing in this world, and it's Bitcoin. His company, MicroStrategy, now holds $4.6 billion worth of Bitcoin. That could be significantly larger should the price continue to grow. That's about 12,000 more Bitcoins than it was in the last 2 months. And man, this story just keeps on happening. It's deja vu. You wake up, Michael Saylor bought a bunch of Bitcoin from MicroStrategy. It's just sitting there in a big, giant Scrooge McDuck style pool for him to dive in at will. Let's talk about this thing. Jen, what do you think? MicroStrategy, the conviction is not waning. They're still here. They're still buying more Bitcoins. What do you think?
We need that Scrooge McDuck image just every time we talk about MicroStrategy's Bitcoin bags. I think it would be a great addition to the show. So this is MicroStrategy's largest purchase since prices peaked in 2021. I think it's just like insane that we talk about Michael Saylor at least once a month when he's saying, maybe MicroStrategy is looking into using the technology behind Bitcoin, or they filed an SEC filing and we've learned that he's bought up so much more Bitcoin. My mouth was just moving with no words because I can't even quote the amount of Bitcoin he has because he has so much. I think it was 2 weeks ago we talked about Saylor reacting to the SEC lawsuits against Coinbase and Binance. And he said that this just reaffirmed that the industry should double down on Bitcoin because Bitcoin doesn't get caught up in all of this regulatory hoopla we have going on here in North America. And I think Michael Saylor is just putting his money where his mouth is. I said on the show before, when Michael Saylor moved into the chairman role and away from the CEO role, I wasn't sure that we would continue to see MicroStrategy double down on this strategy, but they continue to, and good for them. I look forward to the day when we see other news come out of MicroStrategy, maybe some development in some products they're working on, but I guess I'll just have to hold on until that day comes. Will, what do you think?
Yeah, a few thoughts on this. One, seems like the purchase price of this pretty advantageous. Bitcoin has been going up and they purchased this on the rise, but their average Bitcoin purchase price over the years is now lower than the price of Bitcoin as of right now. I believe their average purchase entry price is around $29,000. Average price Bitcoin right now is around 30K, right? So they're like barely in the green, which is nice because for a while there, they were just completely in the red, right? It was a tough spot to be in. Second part about this was paid for by shares. They issued more shares and they were able to purchase Bitcoin by selling those shares onto the open market. Sort of leans into like this whole idea of like, what are stocks and what is the modern economy based on? Like this fiat money that can be printed. A lot of people, especially in Bitcoin circles, don't like the stocks. They don't like equities. They don't like the sort of like fiat-based economy we have because they think that it just bleeds money out through inflation. So a lot of people have looked at this and been like, this is actually a pretty solid trade because you are buying a hard asset, Bitcoin, that has a set inflation schedule that everybody knows about, that has a set supply limit. You're trading that for shares in a fiat-denominated world, right? Where we don't know what fiat's going to happen. We don't know what the interest rate's going to be in a few weeks. We don't know all that. So I think that's a strong point in favor of Michael Saylor kind of staying with the Bitcoin maxi beat. On the other side, talking about all this, I am interested to see what happens in the next few weeks with the ETF thing, right? So Jen, you talked about how there's not a lot of regulatory uncertainty with Bitcoin. Well, there is when it comes to the ETF products, right? And so a lot of people have looked at what Michael Saylor has done with his stock and his company and the fact that they are purchasing so many Bitcoins. And you do see a very strong correlation between the price of Bitcoin and the price of MicroStrategy stock. Some people are saying that it's basically made itself into an ETF through the back door. We'll see if that sort of changes with more competition coming to the beat, right? If we could have a lot of these ETFs pop up at the end of the summer, well, maybe that there's more competition and buyers are leaving MicroStrategy and purchasing something else. I'm not sure. Zach?
Yeah, the approval of a spot Bitcoin ETF could spell the end of like the Bitcoin proxy stock, whether that's MicroStrategy, whether that's the Bitcoin mining firms. Last bull market, we saw a lot of people just betting on Bitcoin by way of these associated stocks. And, should we see a wave of spot Bitcoin ETF approvals, significantly changes the calculus over in the world of equities. So interesting to see, certainly at this time when it's all of a sudden like ETF is the only thing anyone's ever talking about. So to see this drop now, certainly it's inflected with a bit of different context. But hey, who knows? All right, Jen, last word on this one.
Yeah, I guess I'll just note that this has been tracked and it was published on CoinDesk this morning that Bitcoin has registered an average daily return of negative 2% on MicroStrategy buying Bitcoin news. So maybe we're going to dip below 30K today, but I think it does usually bounce back. So
should we short Bitcoin on the hash?
I mean, sure.
Financial advice, friends. That is straight financial advice.